When the INFJ stops trying to be social, a deeply transformative process unfolds, both internally within their emotional and psychological world, and externally in the way other people experience their presence. Unlike more extroverted individuals who thrive effortlessly in constant socializing, the INFJ often approaches socialization as a balancing act between genuine care for others and the quiet, profound need for solitude. When they stop trying to be social, the scales tip, revealing truths about their identity that are usually obscured by the weight of social expectations. At first, there's a sense of relief. INFJs are known to mask their exhaustion with politeness, empathy, and carefully chosen words that make others feel heard and understood. But maintaining that level of attentiveness takes a significant toll on them, because they are not merely engaging in surface-level conversations. They are reading body language, interpreting emotions, sensing unspoken tensions, and filtering their words so as not to wound or alienate. When they finally withdraw and stop trying to maintain these interactions, they experience a kind of release, as though they have been carrying a heavy cloak of obligation that they can at last set down. In the quiet, they feel their energy slowly recalibrating. Their intuition sharpens again, their imagination breathes freely, and their sense of authenticity deepens without the static of social noise. This withdrawal is not without consequence. On the surface, to others, the INFJ may appear aloof, distant, or even cold. Friends and acquaintances who are accustomed to their warmth may interpret the retreat as rejection. What they do not realize is that the INFJ silence is not hostility, but preservation. They are conserving energy, healing from emotional overstimulation, and aligning with their true self. This often leads to a paradox. Those around them may chase after the social INFJ they once knew, while the INFJ, having tasted the peace of solitude, may be less inclined to re-enter the social game with the same intensity. Internally, something even more fascinating happens. Without the constant demand to adjust themselves to other people's expectations, the INFJ begins to rediscover who they are without the mirrors of other people's personalities. They often find themselves writing more, reading deeply, creating art, or diving into philosophical thought. Their inner world blossoms in ways that can't be fully expressed in small talk or daily chatter. They begin to hear the whispers of their intuition more clearly, and their spiritual or reflective side grows stronger. Many INFJs find that when they stop trying to be social, they stumble upon the projects, passions, and purposes that have been patiently waiting for their attention. But this withdrawal can also feel isolating if it goes on for too long. While INFJs may feel liberated by not having to perform socially, they are still human beings who need connection and understanding. The danger lies in becoming so detached that they begin to feel invisible or unworthy of relationships altogether. They may rationalize that people never really see them anyway, so why try? This can lead to a quiet sorrow, a melancholy that creeps in during the late hours of solitude. The very same walls they build to protect their hearts can turn into cages if left unchallenged. The INFJ, in these moments, confronts the dual truth of their existence. They need the world less than most, yet the world still needs their presence. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Playbook today. The link is in the description of this video. Relationships often undergo a test during this period. Those who are casual friends, who enjoyed the INFJ's empathy without ever truly giving it back, may fade away. But the few who are meant to stay, those who can sit with the INFJ in silence, who do not demand explanations or endless energy, become all the more precious. These rare individuals are the ones who understand that the INFJ's withdrawal is not abandonment, but self-preservation. And when the INFJ eventually resurfaces, it is often these people they re-engage with first, bringing back with them a renewed depth of love and appreciation. In the long run, stopping the effort to be social often changes the INFJ's perspective on relationships. They learn to distinguish between connections that are nourishing and those that are draining. They may become more selective, less eager to please, and more unapologetic about saying no. Their boundaries harden not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. They understand now that their empathy is a gift, not a currency to be spent recklessly. And this new strength often makes their eventual re-entry into the social sphere more grounded and authentic. As the INFJ continues their withdrawal, new layers of their identity begin to emerge, ones that were previously suppressed by the pressure of social roles. This new phase in their journey often leads to self-discovery on a profound level, enabling them to assess their personal growth without the influence of external validation. They become less interested in seeking approval or recognition, instead focusing on finding inner peace and purpose. This shift often prompts the INFJ to dive deeper into their passions and long-term goals that have been sidelined. For the first time, they may embark on creative endeavors without the fear of judgment, allowing their imagination to flow freely, and often finding that their best work emerges from this newfound space of personal freedom. This introspective retreat may also lead to a stronger connection to their spiritual self. INFJs are naturally inclined towards seeking deeper meaning and understanding, and by stepping away from social obligations, they give themselves the time to explore their beliefs, engage in meditation or mindfulness practices, and reconnect with their inner values. Some INFJs may find a renewed focus on spiritual or philosophical studies, seeking answers to life's big questions that they may not have had the emotional bandwidth to explore while juggling the demands of social life. At the same time, the INFJ may begin to notice a subtle shift in their emotional responses. When the social fabric of their life thins out, they're no longer in constant interaction with people who may trigger certain emotional patterns. Without the usual emotional exchanges, they may find that their past feelings of frustration, resentment, or anxiety over unreciprocated social efforts begin to fade. This clarity allows the INFJ to see their relationships and the people in their life with fresh eyes, free from the cloud of perception that often accompanies overextension. They may realize that certain people in their life were never truly aligned with their values, while others, who once seemed distant, suddenly appear as more meaningful and compatible companions. It also brings with it a deepening of their understanding of their own emotional and psychological needs. They may begin to recognize patterns in their behavior, why they overextend themselves, or why they sacrifice their own needs for others. This self-awareness leads to the adoption of healthier coping mechanisms. They learn to say no without guilt, prioritize their well-being, and set more definitive boundaries. The process isn't always easy, as INFJs are notorious for wanting to help others to the point of self-sacrifice. However, the longer they spend in solitude, the more they internalize the value of self-care. They begin to understand that their capacity to care for others is directly linked to how well they care for themselves, and this realization may prompt changes in their overall lifestyle. When the INFJ stops trying to be social, they often experience a quieter, more consistent sense of emotional stability. In social situations, INFJs tend to take on the emotional weight of others, often at the expense of their own peace of mind. By stepping back, they regain control over their own emotional landscape, reducing the impact that external stressors and other people's emotional turmoil have on them. This newfound stability doesn't make them immune to stress, but it enables them to manage it more effectively. They become more grounded, able to process their emotions from a place of strength rather than reaction. The absence of social distractions allows the INFJ to cultivate a stronger sense of independence. Whereas they once felt a constant pull toward connecting with others, they now see the value in solitude as an ally. They begin to embrace their solitary moments, finding joy in the activities they previously shied away from because they feared being alone. Reading, journaling, painting, or even simple walks in nature become sources of solace and inspiration. These activities not only replenish their energy, but also deepen their connection to themselves, allowing them to be more authentic in future interactions, should they choose to engage. Through this journey, the INFJ learns the invaluable lesson that their worth isn't defined by the frequency or intensity of their social engagements. In the silence and solitude, they come to realize that they are enough as they are, without needing to prove their value to anyone. And while they may not always be the life of the party, their presence becomes more intentional, genuine, and profound shaping the relationships they choose to nurture in a way that aligns with their deepest self. It also allows INFJs to reevaluate the ways in which they've been spending their time, energy, and resources. This period of introspection often sparks a stronger connection to their personal mission and a clearer understanding of what truly matters to them. They may discover that some of their past choices, whether in their career, relationships, or lifestyle, no longer align with their true desires. This realization often prompts a shift, where the INFJ begins to take steps toward living a life that is more authentic and aligned with their deeper values. Also, with fewer external distractions, they become more attuned to the underlying emotions and thought patterns that drive their behavior. They may begin to notice unconscious habits or beliefs that have shaped their interactions with others, and they use this self-awareness to make positive changes. For instance, they may realize they've been too self-critical or perfectionistic, and the solitude gives them the space to practice self-compassion and acceptance. They may also confront fears or insecurities that were previously buried beneath layers of social engagement, and the quiet allows them to process and heal these wounds in a way that feels empowering rather than isolating. This period of withdrawal also opens up new possibilities for personal growth. INFJs are known for their deep intellectual and emotional capacity, and without the distractions of social life, they may feel drawn to new areas of study, exploration, or creative expression. This could mean pursuing interests they've put off in the past, such as writing, art, philosophy, or even learning a new skill. They may develop a new passion for something that had always intrigued them, but never had the time or energy to explore. This deepening of their intellectual and emotional landscape not only provides fulfillment, but also allows the INFJ to expand their worldview and increase their sense of self-worth. This period may open INFJs to subtle shifts in their long-term goals and aspirations. When immersed in social obligations and the expectations of others, INFJs often prioritize collective goals or the needs of those around them. However, in solitude, they have the chance to step back and reconsider these priorities. Without external distractions, they might revisit dreams or ambitions they once considered unrealistic or impractical. The absence of social pressure creates a fertile environment for long-term vision building. INFJs may come to realize that their true aspirations lie outside the conventional boundaries of what others expect from them. This newfound clarity can lead them to make bold decisions in their personal or professional lives, shifting their trajectory in a way that aligns more deeply with their values. Another shift that can occur during this time is the development of a more profound and personal sense of spirituality. INFJs often feel a deep connection to the spiritual realm, and in solitude, they are free from the distractions of everyday life that might normally inhibit their spiritual growth. They may find themselves exploring new spiritual practices or revisiting old ones with greater sincerity. The INFJ's natural inclination toward deep contemplation often leads them to seek answers to life's most pressing questions, and this period of withdrawal provides the ideal space to delve into those inquiries. They might find themselves engaging in introspective rituals such as meditation, journaling, or prayer, all of which allow them to reconnect with their sense of purpose and transcendence. The INFJ's creative potential may blossom during this time. INFJs often find fulfillment in creative endeavors, and when freed from the demands of social engagement, they may explore their artistic abilities in new and profound ways. Whether it's writing, painting, music, or any other form of creative expression, the INFJ solitude becomes a space for innovation and experimentation. They might begin projects that were once relegated to the back burner or rediscover creative outlets that they abandoned in the past. This creative expression is not just an outlet for emotions, but a form of self-actualization. INFJs often channel their inner world into their art, and during this period of withdrawal, they create works that reflect the depth and complexity of their personal journey. In some cases, the INFJ's retreat can lead to a process of healing, particularly if they've been carrying emotional wounds from past relationships or life experiences. The time alone allows them to process and integrate unresolved feelings that may have been ignored or buried while they focused on others. They may find that, In the quiet of their solitude, old wounds surface, giving them an opportunity to confront and heal them. This self-healing is often a deeply spiritual process for INFJs, and it strengthens their emotional resilience. They begin to understand their triggers, identify patterns of emotional behavior, and learn how to cope with the pain that once seemed insurmountable. By embracing the healing process, INFJs emerge from their isolation with greater emotional clarity and a more robust sense of self-worth. However, it is important to note that not all of the INFJs' experience during this withdrawal is free from internal conflict. Although they may feel relief from social pressures, there may be moments of internal struggle, especially when it comes to the paradox of their need for solitude while also desiring deep, meaningful connection. The INFJ may question whether they are becoming too isolated or detached from the world around them. They may also wrestle with feelings of guilt or shame, believing they are letting others down or that they are being selfish. However, as time passes, they gradually come to understand that their need for space is not a flaw, but a necessary part of maintaining their mental and emotional well-being. The INFJ begins to reconcile the tension between their desire for solitude and their need for meaningful connections, learning to strike a delicate balance between the two. This retreat may help INFJs become more comfortable with their introverted nature. Over time, they realize that their preference for solitude is not something that needs to be fixed or changed. In fact, they come to embrace it as an essential part of who they are. Rather than trying to conform to societal expectations that value extroversion, the INFJ becomes more self-accepting and less apologetic about their need for solitude. They begin to recognize that their energy is precious and must be conserved for the things and people that truly matter to them. This acceptance of their introversion leads to greater peace, as they no longer feel the need to fit in with the social norm, but instead honor their own emotional needs. When an INFJ stops trying to be social, the process is both a retreat and a rebirth. It is a journey back into the self, where they recharge, reflect, and realign with what truly matters. It can be a lonely path at times, but it is also the crucible where their creativity, vision, and authenticity are forged. When they choose to return, they do so not as drained givers, but as whole individuals who bring clarity, compassion, and depth that few others can. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Playbook today. The link is in the description of this video.